Okay, so we have gotten our hands on something pretty incredible. It's the production blueprint for this wildly ambitious indie film trilogy called The Matriarchal Succession. It comes from a filmmaker who goes by Flowbro, and this whole plan, the GAIEC blueprint, it lays out a vision that mashes up ancient mythology with, like, corporate psychopathy and some seriously cutting-edge AI. Honestly, it's a story that sounds like nothing else out there. So let's break this thing down. And this quote right here, this gets right to the absolute soul of the project. See, it's not just going to be about gods and myths. It's about making that high-concept world feel as nail-biting and addictive as a prime-time corporate drama. The whole idea is that every backstabbing boardroom deal should feel like it has the weight of an ancient prophecy. You know, the kind of story you just can't turn away from. So how in the world are they building this universe? Well, the blueprint breaks it all down into 4 key parts. First, we're going to meet the gods in the boardroom. Then, we'll dive into this visual war of aesthetics that defines the whole look of the film. After that, we'll unpack the wild indie tech stack that makes this all possible on a budget. And finally, we'll look at a marketing plan that seriously feels more like a conspiracy than a promotion.
All right, let's jump into the core concept, because it is just brilliant. Forget everything you know about Greek myths. No togas, no ancient temples. This trilogy reimagines the Greek gods as a modern-day dynastic family, battling for control of a massive global empire. And here is the kicker. All the genders are flipped. Now, this isn't just some gimmick. It's a way to really dig into the dynamics of ambition, paranoia, and power and see how they work totally independent of gender.
The actual backbone of the story is the ancient myth of the Titanomachy. You know, that epic war between the old gods, the Titans, and the new ones, the Olympians. But here, instead of a cosmic battle in the heavens, it's a brutal, hostile corporate takeover. It's all about a generational succession plan gone completely and catastrophically off the rails.
And check this out. You can see just how cleverly these mythological figures get mapped onto the corporate world. The sky god Uranus is reborn as Urania, the iron-fisted CEO. Gaia, the Earth Mother, becomes Gaian, the company's founding father. The ambitious son, Cronus, is now Crona, a totally ruthless female COO. And get this, even the Cyclopes are re-envisioned as the Cyclopuses, these monstrously brilliant minds hiding out in the R&D division. And this is where the corporate soap opera stuff really starts to cook. The new matriarch, Crona, is completely haunted by this fear that she'll be overthrown by her own kids, just like she did to her mother. So, what does she do? She traps them in what the script calls golden cages. These are high-status executive jobs with fancy titles but zero real power. This whole thing creates this toxic, repeating cycle of narcissistic control, a narcissistic geopolitical loop that's just crippling the company from the inside out. So the big question is, how do the kids escape these cages? Well, they do it through this brilliant modern plot device called the emetic. And no, it's not a magic potion. It's a massive data dump, a huge whistleblowing event that's triggered by the hidden heir, Zia. This leak forces what the script calls a market regurgitation. It literally spews the trapped heirs back out into the world as powerful, fully formed rivals ready to wage war on their own mother. Now, this whole conflict isn't just fought in boardrooms and back alleys. It's a visual war, a war of aesthetics. The two sides in this fight are defined by a clash between two completely opposite architectural styles. On one side, you've got titanic brutalism. Think raw concrete, imposing fortress-like buildings, heavy, deep shadows. It's all meant to represent the paranoid, industrial power of the old guard. And then on the other side, you have celestial minimalism. This is all glass and light and transparency. It stands for the sleek, high-tech, almost cloud-based world of the New Order. And what's really incredible is how the series plans to use actual, real-world locations to build this visual language. So for the oppressive, heavy world of the Titans, they're looking at places like 111 Somerset in Singapore. But for the sleek, futuristic world of the Olympians, you're thinking of places like Dubai's One Zabiel Tower or the iconic TWA terminal in New York.
And if we dig a little deeper into the look of the old guard, it is all about oppressive power. You've got this powerful, cubic geometry, tons of raw concrete, and these narrow, slit-like windows that make you feel like you're trapped inside a fortress. And the lighting? Pure soap opera, super high contrast and dramatic, so every shadow feels like a lurking threat.
In total contrast, the look of the New Order is described as an architecture of silence. Imagine these crystalline glass towers that just seem to dissolve boundaries. The color palette is super clean, whites, beiges, taupes, and it's all flooded with natural and smart lighting. It's a world that feels elites, transparent, and almost unsettlingly perfect.
Okay, so you've got this epic, globe-trotting story with a really high-concept visual style. How on earth does an indie filmmaker pull this off on a micro-budget? Well, the answer lies in a pretty revolutionary new tech stack. But before we get into all the crazy tech, it's so important to remember the soul of the project. As you can see here, this whole thing started with raw, handwritten notes. This is not some big studio product. It was born from pure indie passion. It's just a great reminder that no matter how advanced the tools get, the human idea, that always comes first.
Now this is where things get truly futuristic. The plan is to use something called agentic AI as a virtual co-pilot for the entire pre-production process. This AI can literally analyze the script in minutes, automatically spitting out lists for props, locations, VFX, you name it. It can even flag potential risks, like stunts or night shoots, and lets the director rearrange the entire shooting schedule just using simple voice commands. For a small team, that is an absolute game changer.
And here's a look at the specific toolkit. You've got Agent AI for all the planning, virtual production systems to create digital sets in real time on set, AI video generators like Sora 2 that can create entire cinematic shots from scratch, and cloud render farms, which are basically supercomputers on demand. They give you blockbuster-level VFX power for a tiny, tiny fraction of the cost. This whole tech stack completely democratizes high-end filmmaking.
So what's the result of all this amazing technology? An absolutely blistering production timeline. The entire process, from breaking down the script all the way to final delivery, is designed to happen in an 8-week sprint. I mean, that is a speed that would have been completely unthinkable just a few years ago.
So we have the story, we have the look, we have the tech. But this final piece of the puzzle might just be the most radical part of the whole plan. A marketing strategy that's designed to pull the audience right into the story's unfinished loop, making them feel like they're part of a real-world conspiracy.
The approach is called stealth marketing, and it's all about blurring the lines between the fictional world of the story and our actual reality. The idea is to treat the audience not as passive viewers, but as active participants in the whole narrative, letting them slowly piece the puzzle together themselves. And that, of course, raises the central question, right? If your story is about corporate espionage and secret takeovers and NDAs, how do you market it? You can't just run normal ads. You have to make the marketing feel like the show.
The solution is an alternate reality game, an ARG. It kicks off with things like the Othris leaks, where fake internal corporate documents are leaked online for people to find. This gets combined with brutally honest development logs from the director himself under the hashtag Zelfzeiker, which is a Dutch term that basically means self-pisser, and it's used here to mean radical transparency. And they even plan on sending fictional products from the movie's world to influencers.
And this brings us to the core philosophy of the entire project, and it's summed up in this quote: "The cause is the effect." Think about it. The story is about a repeating cycle of power. The production method is cyclical and super agile, and the marketing pulls you, the audience, into that very loop. In this world, the way you experience the story is the story.
And that leads us to the central theme of the whole trilogy, this idea of the unfinished loop. At its heart, it's a story about the cyclical nature of power. Every revolution, every single takeover, it just sets the stage for the next one. Every ending is just a new, and maybe even more dangerous, beginning.
Which leaves us with this one last kinda chilling thought. The whole story follows the hidden heir, Zia, as she rebels against her mother to seize control. But once she's on the throne, once she's become the very thing she fought against, what new rebellion is already quietly taking root in the shadows, just waiting for its moment to overthrow her? I guess we'll have to watch to find out.